Okay, so I'm sure pretty much everyone has heard of the burning of the Library of Alexandria and what a huge loss to humanity this was. We don't really know how many blueprints or historical records were lost in the fire, but it is said by some to have set humanity back by as much as 1,000 years. But there was another very similar event that took place in the 1500s on the other side of the world in ancient Peru. So from the 1530s to the 1560s, Spanish invaders ransacked and robbed most of the lost worlds in South America looking for gold and other precious gems, with only a handful of Spaniards actually making an effort to extrapolate information about these ancient cultures and ancient civilizations before they disappeared completely. In the ransacking of the Incan Empire, we may have lost information more valuable than what was in the Library of Alexandria, particularly architectural information about the Inca themselves, as well as the many societies that came before them that built these unbelievably massive and precise megalithic stone walls. They quarried, cut, and lifted these unbelievably massive and heavy stone blocks without supposedly ever inventing the wheel. We also undoubtedly lost extremely valuable information about the Nazca people who reigned in Peru more than 1,000 years before the Inca, who are attributed to building some of the most mind-boggling and unexplained megalithic sites in the entire world called the Nazca Lines. When Europeans first discovered the Nazca Lines, they had no idea what they were, because what you're looking at right now, although it may look like it, are not paintings on a rock. This view right here can only be seen from a plane. These are unbelievably massive and highly mathematically precise drawings drawn across the desert floor. And to go even further than this, the Inca, as well as the Nazca and many other traditions, all spoke of a great civilization that predated even the Nazca. And that civilization, many believe, are responsible for creating these inexplicably massive megaliths. And anybody who tells you with 100% certainty that the Inca are responsible for this are lying to you. There is absolutely no evidence that the Inca moved stones that are this big. There's no evidence for how they quarried them, cut them, and placed them, hoisted them in the position that they're in. Absolutely no evidence. We see this exact same anomaly in ancient sites all over the world. Architecture that does not match the tools and capability attributed with the people who supposedly built them. I think it's undeniable that we are missing a massive piece of our ancient history. It's evident to me and many others that there was clearly an ancient lost civilization and an ancient lost technology that we just do not understand yet. So if this is the kind of stuff you're interested in, please feel free to like and follow for more.
So we all know Easter Island and their famous Moai statues. But did you know about the bizarre and curious evidence that links Easter Island to civilizations like ancient Egypt and even ancient cultures in Pakistan, which is on the other side of the world? You didn't? Well, you're about to. Let's get into it. So this strange object behind me is called the Rongo Rongo tablet, and it was found on Rapa Nui, aka Easter Island, and it talks about the origin story and sort of traditions of the culture. But let's just take a second to look at the actual writings on it. Like the shapes and the bodies, like it looks pretty cool, hey? Now let's take a second to have a look at the Indus Civilization's language right behind me. Let's just have a look now. You're probably thinking, yeah, I guess they look kind of similar. But let's put them next to each other. This is where I recommend pausing just to really take in the similarities here. It goes against every fiber of my being to think that this was just pure coincidence. Like that these two cultures on opposite sides of the world decided on the exact same symbols of their language. Like I would understand one or two here or there, but there are so many. It's just impossible. Another correlation is the site of Vinapu on the island, and it's to do with this stone wall behind me. So do you see that small stone in the middle and how the four surrounding stones kind of are carved specifically for that stone to fit into it? This is a strange kind of architecture that is found throughout many ancient civilizations, including sites in Peru, multiple sites in Peru I might add, and as well as multiple sites in ancient Egypt. I don't know, I just think it's kind of weird that all these different cultures decided on the exact same architecture to build their walls. Now, a huge quandary that's overlooked by a lot of the mainstream is the fact that the Moai, these statues here, actually don't really resemble Polynesians much at all. The nose alone is a great example of this. It's very elongated and pointy. And And the facial features between the earlier Moai and the later Moai, it changes completely. Almost like they were trying to replicate different cultures through different stages and phases throughout their history. Another huge connection is between the carvings on the back of the Moai and the carvings found at Göbekli Tepe. Also, by the way, Göbekli Tepe is the oldest megalithic site to have ever been found so far. Now, this is the most mind-blowing thing I'll tell you throughout the whole video. Easter Island, ancient sites in Peru, and the pyramids of Giza all line up perfectly in a straight line across the globe. They didn't teach us that in geography.
Hey Tik Tok, thought you guys might find this really interesting. This is an 800-year-old artifact found near Babylonia, Sumeria, of a cell phone. It looks like a Nokia phone, as pictured here, from 2001. Some people say Nokia is unbreakable, which is kind of funny. Imagine these cell phones, the technology and the design actually came from thousands of years ago. The symbols that are on the buttons are recognized as an ancient language. This ancient language is known as cuneiform, which is Sumerian, Babylonian, and although it's not known what's written on the phone, many people know that all of our technology, knowledge, math, sciences, and writing came from Sumeria, and they claim that the Anunnaki, people who come from the stars, brought this information down. What do you guys think? Take care.
In the Amazon basin, in the lowland forests of Bolivia, archaeologists have discovered new evidence of an ancient civilization.
Nobody expected that kind of society in that region.
Using LiDAR technology, researchers peeled back the dense vegetation to reveal huge structures hidden beneath the trees. Hundreds of new sites have been uncovered. Rectangular platforms, conical pyramids, defensive banks, canals, reservoirs, and long straight causeways connecting hundreds more settlements, large and small.
There is new civilization, new culture waiting for us to study them. It's sort of a dream coming true.
Ancient civilizations were far more advanced than we thought. Part 2. A myth about the pyramids is that they were tombs. In fact, they were much more. This is what the pyramids looked like when first built. This is the Tesla Tower, a tower built to try spread energy across the world. Now what if I tell you that it was very similar to the pyramids of Giza? The gold cap emitted the energy. More evidence to back this up. The pyramids were built out of limestone, which has been said to transport energy over a huge area.
Okay, so back on the hunt for anything indicative of an ancient lost civilization or an ancient lost technology. Today we're looking at navigator and cartographer Pyri Reis, who was a collector of old ancient source maps collected from all over the world, and some of them thousands and thousands of years old. Some of these maps showing geography that could not have been possible within the last 10,000 years. In particular, this map, which seems to show a small land bridge connecting South America to Antarctica, as well as extreme detail of the Amazon and the Amazon River, which was largely unknown at the time of Pyri Reis. Many of the maps in the possession of Pyri Reis were said to be as old or even older than the Library of Alexandria, which is why the burning of the Library of Alexandria is so important, because had it not been burned down, we may know more about ancient navigators and ancient cartographers. There's a lot more I'm going to dive into with these ancient maps, so like and follow and stay tuned for more.
Is it possible human civilization is thousands of years older than we've been told? Mainstream archaeology ardently states that civilization started just 6,000 years ago, but evidence today shows that several advanced civilizations existed more than twice as many years prior, before they were wiped out by a series of cataclysmic events. From the Moai heads of Easter Island and the precisely cut megaliths of Sacsayhuaman in Peru, to the Giza pyramid complex of Egypt and the ancient temples of Japan, we find the remnants of highly sophisticated civilizations whose engineering feats appear to exceed even our modern engineering capability. Many of us are familiar with the story of the biblical flood and Noah's Ark, but ancient texts and oral traditions outside of Abrahamic religions also speak of devastating floods and a major catastrophe that rocked the planet, wiping out much of humanity. Is it possible human civilization
Said to have been built around 200 BC, the ancient city of Tiwanaku is an ancient Bolivian-Peruvian port city, which is currently thought to have been one of the most important cities of all of the ancient Andean civilizations. And it very well may have been, but there's a huge mystery surrounding the city of Tiwanaku that points to the possibility that it may be much, much older than previously thought. So archaeological evidence has pretty much irrefutably proven that Tiwanaku was once an ancient port city. But look at its location, approximately 10 to 12 miles from the nearest lake Titicaca. Some aging science revolving around the water level of Titicaca, without any consideration of its neighboring megalithic city of Tiwanaku, suggests that this dramatic of a change in water level is likely to have not happened any time before 100,000 years ago. And yet, here we have an ancient port city with no water in sight that is said to be no older than at least 2,500 years. But even more recent research from the University of La Paz is showing that the city may have sustained considerable damage around the 11th millennium BC, which is totally different than the original dating of the city's construction around 200 BC. Is it possible that during the 11th millennium BC, an event known as the Younger Dryas could have drastically changed the water levels of Lake Titicaca? More and more, we see professors from the University of La Paz beginning to toss around the idea that the ancient port city may be as old as 15,000 BC, which traditionally we're told that advanced architectural civilizations began in about 4,000 BC in Mesopotamia. But then Göbekli Tepe is discovered, which pushes back the origin of advanced ancient civilization by another 6,000 years, which by the way is 2,000 years longer than the time that they say the Egyptian pyramids were built until now. So, is it so far a stretch to say that Göbekli Tepe may not be the only megalithic site suggesting that advanced ancient civilization and advanced ancient technology goes back much, much, much further than previously thought? If you guys are interested in searching for evidence or the possibility of an ancient lost civilization or ancient lost technology, please feel free to like and follow for more because I have years worth of content to talk about.